Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing all of the aesthetic treatments I've ever done to my skin. I'm going in depth on each of my experiences to explain if it's something I would recommend or not, or if I would ever do it again. I want this video to be as helpful and educational as possible, so we're going to speak candidly about cost, pain, discomfort, recovery time, and results, of course. I've always found these videos really helpful when doing my own research, but it is important to note that everybody is different. We all have unique skin, unique goals. I think the most important thing is you find an injector who you trust, who you feel really comfortable with. Especially if it's a treatment you're doing for the first time, that is not when you want to search for the deepest discount or go to a shady looking med spa. Say no to your neighbor's cousin's Botox party. It's always better to err on the side of caution. You only get one face. And the truth is, even the best doctors, master injectors can have an off day. They're human. I'm sure every single one of them has had at least a handful of patients dealing with adverse reactions. So it's always better to take your time, do your research, and make sure you are really confident and comfortable whatever you decide. Starting with neurotoxins, commonly referred to as Botox. I believe I had my first treatment at 31, and since then I've gone roughly 3 times a year every year. I'm now 37. This is a treatment I do recommend, and I'm planning to continue to get my treatments indefinitely. That's not to say I'm going to continue to get Botox until the day I die. I'm sure at some point I will stop. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll want to stop. But for now, this is one of the treatments that has given me the best noticeable results with my skin. I've actually never had true Botox. I usually get Dysport. I've always gotten Dysport at every office I've been to. It was only my very last office visit a few months ago. I went somewhere new. She used Daxxify instead of Dysport, and I actually think I liked it a little bit better. Now, there are ways to alter your appearance with Botox. A lot of people will do a lip flip. Sometimes if it's injected poorly in the forehead, it can give you a lifted eyebrow, your brows can sag. So there are things that can go wrong with Botox that will change the way you look, but that's usually not the intended result. Most people are just trying to preserve what they already have. I'll never forget looking at a picture of myself before my very first treatment. I think this is that moment the light bulb went off and I thought, okay, I think now is time for Botox. I was reporting live, it was Mardi Gras, and I was outside all day. It was pretty cold and my crow's feet were so pronounced. I don't even think I was 30 years old. I was maybe 27, 28. I'm gonna try to pull as many pictures and videos as possible for proof and evidence. But this picture is just ingrained in my brain because I had such deep set lines in my crow's feet area. It wasn't just cakey concealer. I'm sure that was part of the problem. What happens is over time, the more you smile, the more you express yourself, all of those lines that you're creating on your face, they get deeper and deeper. Once you reach the point where you have fine lines at rest, it just gets harder and harder to treat them and diminish the appearance of those lines. And as a makeup girly, when you have those really small fine lines, when you're not wearing any makeup, usually you can't really see unless somebody is looking really close at your face. But as soon as you apply any makeup to the skin, it's nearly impossible to prevent all settling into those fine lines, so your makeup just doesn't look as smooth either. Aging is completely natural, it's a blessing, it's a gift, but I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to preserve a youthful appearance for as long as possible. And while I do think I look my age, I feel like I look like a refreshed 37, and I really credit Dysport and tretinoin for making the biggest difference with my skin overall. When I'm treating the upper face, I do both sections of the forehead. If you do one, you have to do the other. Something bad can happen if you only do one. You can get a sinking brow. So you usually do the 11s right here, the glabella, or maybe this is the glabella, I'm not sure, but they do around here. They do down here at the 11s. I also treat the crow's feet when I'm doing upper face. Occasionally, if I'm doing the whole shebang, I will also do the jawline. I've done the chin. I've gotten some Botox in the nose area right here for those bunny lines. I've also done the neck, which is a little bit more painful and gives you some discomfort, but it's to prevent these bands that become very prominent as you get older. It's not something that really bothers me right now, but I feel like over time, maybe I'll start to notice and I'll be glad that I've treated my neck. I usually only do the lower face or the whole face once a year. We have to talk about master Botox. I have treated my master muscles twice. And the first time I was clenching my jaw. I don't know if I had a lot of stress at the time, but I was doing a lot of clenching. I felt like my jaw was really tight. My face was much wider at the bottom at the time. I had a very strong jaw. So I do think there was a case for me to treat my masters. So I did. And then I think I waited a full year before I treated them again. It definitely makes a huge difference with the appearance of your face. So this is one of those times where Botox is going to change your appearance. It can shrink your jaw muscles so that it slims everything down and you think, ooh, I want a slimmer face. That sounds amazing. I thought, wow, this is incredible. I'm going to continue to get my masters. I can't believe nobody suggested this before. I don't have any formal training. I'm going to do my best to explain this the way it has been explained to me. But if you shrink your master muscles back here, which is really the anchor to the lower face, what can happen is this skin has nothing to stretch around. It has nothing to pull it back. So you can end up with premature jowling or sagging right here in this marionette line area. And that is something that I have noticed. I never noticed it before. And it could be aging. It could have been the master Botox. It could have just been natural and that's the way my face was going to age anyways. I can never know for sure, but I have been warned now by 2 different doctors who didn't suggest the master Botox that unless you really, really need it, if you are clenching your jaw, if you have pain back here, or you just have an extremely large jaw and it's not really proportional for your face, then treat your masters. But other than that, don't touch them unless you really have to because you're not going to want the jowling that can occur if you do. I have no plans to continue treating that area, so I highly recommend Botox for the upper face and maybe some areas on the lower face if you really need it, but just be careful. So now let's talk about filler. This has become a very controversial topic. It was really hot a couple years ago, and now people are saying pump the brakes. We don't know as much information as we originally thought we did about filler. The only place I've ever had filler injected is my lips. I've done 6 syringes over the course of like 9 years, so not quite 1 treatment per year. I think I have a high pain tolerance. I would still say it's pretty painful even with the numbing, and a lot of the filler now actually has a numbing agent in the filler itself. So they numb you for a little bit, they go in with the filler, it still hurts like hell, but it's worth it at the end because it's more like a little pinch. It's not a pain that is long lasting. So within a couple minutes after the treatment, you don't really have pain. You might have some soreness, you'll definitely have some redness and swelling. I usually swell up for a couple weeks, but once the swelling goes down, no pain, no discomfort, and I've always been really happy with my lips. I feel very lucky because I've gone to different injectors all over Florida. Always doctors, surgeons, usually board certified. I've never gone anywhere remotely sketchy. I always do my research, make sure that whoever is doing my injections is highly, highly skilled, a master injector. One of the biggest myths around filler is that it's absolutely going to be noticeable 100% no matter what. That's not really true. I think when filler is done right, you're not going to notice it. I don't think that anyone would say she has a ton of filler in her lips if I didn't post about it, which I'm always really open and transparent about everything that I'm doing with my face. But I think if I just met a stranger on the street, they wouldn't be like, wow, did you see her lips? Her filler is crazy. We associate filler with the pictures of celebrities and the Kardashians and everybody who has really puffy cheeks or huge lips, and we think that is the normal result when that's actually abnormal. In order to achieve that look, you have to get 4, maybe 5 syringes per treatment. It can be done naturally, and when it's done well, it can absolutely enhance your appearance. For me, for myself personally, I've always been really happy, but even still, I'm not sure it's something that I'm going to continue to do in the future, and I'm way too scared to get filler placed anywhere else on my face. I've heard too many horror stories of people doing filler in the nasal labial folds and then it moves, or filler under the eye scares me so much. I've heard people say they have it, they love it. I've heard way too many people say they loved it at first, but then after a few months or even a few years, it shifted, it migrated, and now they have lumpy areas under the eye. You are able to dissolve your filler, which is supposed to be incredibly painful, but it can be very tricky and hard to dissolve filler beneath the eye. It's a little bit easier to dissolve it in the lips. The conversation that we used to have regarding filler was that your body's going to metabolize it over time. It's hyaluronic acid, which is naturally occurring in the body. So especially if you have a faster metabolism, it's not going to stick around that long, and you'll probably have to refill within 6 months to a year. There's a specific image that comes to mind that I've seen circulating all over social media. I believe it's an MRI image, and there have been so many videos about this image where it's a patient who has had filler over the course of several years, was under the impression that it was, dissolving naturally. And you can see all over the face, there is just filler everywhere you look. When I see images like this, I have so many questions. I feel like we just don't have enough information about the patient. But it does make you think, what are the long-term consequences and ramifications of long-time filler use? Now let's talk about lasers. I've done Clear and Brilliant, V-Beam, and IPL, and I have so many thoughts about all three. Last June was my first Clear and Brilliant treatment. I did a series of 3, 1 month apart. I'd gone to my dermatologist and complained about all of the sun damage on my chest. It's one of my biggest insecurities still regarding my skin. I don't think I would even think about it if I wasn't a content creator, which is sort of the sad thing. But because I'm constantly filming videos using the back camera on my cell phone, there's just such a noticeable difference between the skin on my face and the skin on my chest. And it's all I see. Whenever I look at videos of my skin, I see every little freckle, dot, uneven mark on my chest, and it drives me crazy. And I wanted to do something about it. And she suggested Clear and Brilliant. I was excited, all on board. Each treatment was $500. I went through the series of 3, and when we started the series, she did say at the end, if you feel like you still haven't reached your goal, we can always do a 4th, potentially a 5th treatment. We might decide to do a series of peels. She also wrote me a prescription for a hydroquinone cream, which to this day I've never used because the ingredient freaks me out a little bit. I'd rather not put anything too toxic on my skin. And I did notice a difference. I'm gonna try to pull all of my before and afters. There is a difference from when I started or before my first treatment to 3 treatments later. Just not as noticeable as I would have hoped. After spending $1,500 and 3 office visits, it's hard for me to recommend Clear and Brilliant because I don't really think that was the best treatment that I needed at the time, and I have some thoughts on the subject. So I really love my old dermatologist. She moved, so I'm gonna have to find somebody else. I trusted her. I feel like she always gave me really great recommendations. I love all of the prescriptions she gave me for topical skincare. However, I think it's important to note, and I've noticed this in several other cases, not just this one, but if you go to an office and you say, I'm concerned with ABC, and the only machine they have in that office treats DEF, it's possible that they may sort of steer you in the direction of what they have. She did the Clear and Brilliant herself. That was the laser treatment that they had on hand in that office. So maybe it was a bit easier for her to make that recommendation. But from what I've learned from speaking to other providers since then, is that Clear and Brilliant really isn't the best laser treatment for hyperpigmentation and brown spots. It's really better for texture, which I did have a little texture. Anybody with sun-damaged skin knows that there is a little bit of like a chicken skin. You can kind of see almost like little raised bumps on the skin. And it helped with that a little bit, but I wasn't really concerned with texture. I was really concerned with the brown spots. And I know that I vocalized that and I made myself very clear what I wanted, what my goals were. But still, she recommended the Clear and Brilliant, which is known as a lunchtime laser because it's more gentle. I do think that she knows we live in Miami. There's a lot of sun. When you get into lasers, you have to be really careful about your sun exposure. So I don't hate the decision. I can't really fault her for making a recommendation that she really believed in. But there is a part of me that regrets going forward with the 3 Clear and Brilliant treatments because I spent $1,500 and I wasn't 100% happy with the results. And I've since learned that there are just better treatments and better lasers out there. After the 3rd treatment, I expressed that I still wasn't happy. I wanted to keep going. I felt like there was probably something else. I remember asking about Fraxel, CO2, some of the really intense lasers, and she's like, no, what you need is V-beam, but that's not something that we do in this office, so I'm gonna have to refer you out somewhere else. I called around to a few places and I found a Zala Skin Clinic in Coconut Grove, if you're local to South Florida, and I had the best experience. So I made my appointment, and here I was set on getting the V-beam treatment because that's what my dermatologist recommended. I show up to the appointment and I'm meeting somebody new. She looked at my chest. I explained that I was really interested in getting rid of all of the hyperpigmentation and uneven skin tone or whatever was left. And she said, you shouldn't get V-beam because V-beam is really going to target red. Instead, I recommend IPL, which is going to target brown and red. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course, then give me the IPL, give me the brown and red. That's exactly what I need. She could have easily upsold me on a series of treatments because I was so desperate, ready to just give her my money. But she said, I'm pretty sure I can take care of your issue with just one treatment. You may need to come back for one more, but I think one IPL treatment is all you're going to need. The IPL is a lot more painful, much spicier than the Clear and Brilliant. It's also more expensive, but it worked. It worked wonders. The results were incredible. I can still see major results, but especially after a couple weeks, wow. Now, she did warn me that all of the brown spots would get really dark before they got better. And it was a little bit jarring when I saw that. I was like, ooh, after a week, I had a lot of really dark freckles on my shoulders. I think I showed them in a video. A lot of dark spots on my chest. It freaks you out a little bit because you think, oh no, was this a mistake? Because I was hoping to lighten all of these spots. They're really dark now. It took about a month for me to start seeing the full results, and I was instantly in love. I am sold on IPL. If you are like me with a lot of sun damage on your chest or your shoulders and you have a lot of just brown spots, freckles, hyperpigmentation, I highly recommend checking out IPL. It is worth every penny. And now that I know it's so much better, I wish that I had just done 2 IPL treatments versus spending $1,500 on the Clear and Brilliant, not really getting any sort of results, and then still having to do the IPL in the future anyways. So I could have saved money in the long run. Hindsight is 2020. We still ended up using the V-beam, but not on my chest. While I was in the office, I had asked her about the tiny little red spots that I have on my stomach. I think it's called a cherry angioma. I might be saying that wrong, but you might have them. I think it's hereditary, so you might not have them, but I know some people, especially if you have fair skin, you'll have these little, tiny little red bumps on your skin. They just come with age. They're not really attractive, but they don't do harm. But the V-beam targets them perfectly. So she just zapped each one on my stomach and then looked at my back and was just zapping each and every one. And then within a couple weeks, they just completely disappear. And again, it's sort of painless. In conclusion, I absolutely love IPL, highly recommend it. I'm planning to go back maybe closer to the fall and have a second IPL done on my chest. And then in the fall, or maybe closer to winter, I'm also going to treat my shoulders. And I'm thinking about maybe doing my arms as well, but she didn't want me to do it while I was in the office a couple months ago. She said it's better to just wait until the winter months. Not that we really get a true winter, but when the sun isn't as harsh in October, November, December, that's when I can come back. I can treat my arms, treat my shoulders, and do much larger areas. But she was happy to do my chest. I think I actually even want to try the IPL on the face as well, just to help even out the skin tone. And she says she has a lot of clients and patients who will just come in once a year for an IPL treatment just because they love the way it makes their skin look. Huge fan of the IPL, worth every penny. Clear and Brilliant, I think it just depends on your goals. You really have to vocalize what it is you want to see, what results you're hoping for. For me, I just don't really think it's worth it. One of the more recent treatments I had done was Sculptra. It was my very first time. Sculptra's sort of interesting. It is a filler in that they're injecting it into the skin and you're going to get sort of an instant plump, but it's really just a biostimulator. It's meant to stimulate the collagen. So you're not going to see a huge instant transformation like you will with filler. And I had it injected in the cheeks. She also did a little bit on the temples and a little back here at the jaw, which I was unsure of at the time, but I trusted her. It's been a couple months. They say you have to wait 2 months to see the results so that you don't get overfilled or overplumped. And then a lot of times you have to go back to have a second vial. Sometimes it takes a few treatments, a handful of treatments before you really see any difference in your skin. And this is just meant to give you a very natural but youthful appearance. I didn't hate it. I didn't notice a huge difference with my skin. You're not going to see a huge difference with just one treatment, one vial. I'm very tempted to go back for a second Sculptra treatment. I think I probably will eventually. It's not top of mind right now, but it is something that I would do again, and I would want to focus more in the upper cheek area because I've noticed that I'm starting to get lines at rest right here in the nasal labial fold. I don't want to inject any filler in this area, and basically the only other way to treat those lines would be a mid-facelift, which I'm not ready for. But by adding a little volume or just boosting collagen in this area, it's supposed to help kind of lift everything as much as possible in a really natural way so that it doesn't change your face shape, but it just makes you look a little bit more rested. Another thing I've had done, I believe this is the last thing on my list, but it's a long game treatment, is microneedling with radio frequency. I did a series of 3 treatments. I believe I started last December. The pain level was pretty spicy, especially since she went over a couple areas that she really wanted to stimulate. By the end, my face was burning red. I looked like a tomato after my first treatment. After the second treatment, I was a little bit red. After the third treatment, not as much. So I don't know if maybe my skin sort of adapted or got used to it. But the whole purpose of microneedling is to give trauma to the skin. It tells your skin, we have had trauma, we need to produce collagen, and that's what gives you that natural plumping. Something I noticed was the day after the treatment, I felt like my skin looked its best. Like I couldn't see a single pore. I was glowy. I looked fresh. Everything looked so just smooth and blurred and beautiful the day following the treatment. You can't wear makeup for up to 72 hours. So I typically would wait 48 hours and then by day 2 I was wearing makeup again. No big deal. You're poking holes pretty deep into your skin. You don't want any infection, so that's why you can't apply anything immediately after and you want to wait for makeup. By day 2 or 3, I didn't have any more red dots. I didn't have any more redness from the treatment. I also didn't really have that initial glowiness, that perfection, that aura around my skin that I had right afterwards. And a few weeks later, I wouldn't say there was a huge, really noticeable result. And I say this is a long game treatment because it's one of those maintenance facials that you can have done. You're not going to look 10 years younger. It's not going to give you this, oh my God, what have you had done to your skin result. It's so subtle. And for some people, it might be more visible than others, but it might just be that you don't see much of a difference at all. I remember the provider told me when I first had my treatment, she said, you don't have a lot of acne or acne scars or a lot of really bad texture on your face. So this is really just going to treat fine lines. It's going to give you a little plump. So it really just depends on your skin. If you have a lot of post-acne marks, if you have a lot of texture on your skin, you'll probably see a visible difference more than I did. I would absolutely get microneedling again, but in the future, I think instead of getting the microneedling with radio frequency, which is heat, I want to do microneedling with PRF or PRP, which is when they spin your blood. I've heard a lot of people say the science is incredible and people are seeing amazing results with the microneedling PRF combination. I've also heard a lot of people have great success with PRF or PRP injections underneath the eyes. It's not like filler, it's completely natural. It's not going to necessarily fill a tear trough or a shadow in this area, but it can help brighten your under eyes so you don't really have darkness. If you have dark circles underneath the eyes, it helps to diminish the appearance. So that is something that is on my wish list as well. And that brings us to the end. Those are all of the aesthetic treatments that I have had done so far in my lifetime over the course of many, many years, not all done at once. I know this subject can be sort of touchy. There are people with very strong feelings one way or another. I wanted to spare you a soapbox lecture. I don't think anybody needs it. I will end with this. I feel like it's important for me to be very transparent about everything that I do to my face because I review skincare and makeup, and doing treatments like these can change the way products look on your skin. So I just want to be open and honest. That does not mean it's open season for all of your judgments down in the comment section. I think the term aging gracefully is often thrown around to disparage women who like to have treatments done to just preserve a youthful appearance. There's not a treatment on earth that is going to stop us from aging. We're all going to get there eventually, and it should be on our own terms. Personally, I don't see it as a morality issue. I don't think you're a better or worse person or a more virtuous person, whatever you decide, whether you want to get treatments or not. You're always going to be judged. You're always going to be criticized, no matter what you decide to do. Either you're doing too much, you're not doing enough. My advice is to drown out the noise. Don't listen to what anybody else is saying. Don't worry about what people are going to think or their judgments. And do what feels most comfortable for you, whatever that looks like. And that completes today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you liked the conversation. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave me your comments, questions down below. I am so curious to hear from all of you if you've done a treatment that you really loved, that you highly recommend. If there's anything that you've tried that you did not like, drop me a comment. We'll keep the conversation going there. As always, I will be linking everything mentioned. Everything on my face will be listed down below in the description box for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.